I stared at the dining room table, covered in gold-rimmed plates and crystal glasses, each engraved with Jacob's initials. It was his engagement party. My brother, the golden boy. My parents were glowing, laughing, hugging guests like they were hosting royalty. And I was in the corner, holding the eviction notice that had just been taped to my apartment door. I had lost my job 2 months ago. Told no one. I swallowed my pride and finally asked Mom for help. Her response? Sweetie, we already gave Jacob his down payment. We really can't stretch ourselves right now. But Jacob? He got a house, a Tesla, and now a six-figure wedding fund. I stood there, invisible at my own family's celebration. Have you ever felt like the background character in your own life story? Have you ever watched your family treat someone else like royalty while you're scraping by? A comment yes if this ever happened to you. I'm about to tell you everything. It wasn't always like this. Growing up in Ohio, we were a pretty average middle-class family. My name's Emily Parker, and I'm the older sibling, 3 years older than Jacob, my brother. When we were kids, we shared bunk beds, played video games, and rode bikes through the neighborhood until the streetlights blinked on. He was the goofy one, always cracking jokes. I was the quiet overachiever, spelling bee champion, honor roll, all that. Mom used to say, Emily's our little star, Jacob's our sunshine. I thought we were loved equally until I turned 18. When I went to college in Boston, I worked 2 jobs to make it through. My parents said they'd match what I earned. They ended up sending just a few $100s here and there. I didn't complain. But when Jacob graduated, they handed him a car and paid his full tuition out of pocket. Still, I brushed it off. He's the baby, I told myself. They just want to protect him. When I landed my first job in New York, I was so proud. Marketing coordinator at a startup, small salary, big dreams. I called Mom that night. Her reply? That's great, Em. Hold on, Jacob just walked in with some big news. Then she put the phone down and never came back. I didn't realize it then, but that moment planted the first seed. The beginning of being invisible, of being second. The real shift started when I moved back home briefly, right after the pandemic hit. I'd lost my job in New York. My roommate had left, and I couldn't afford rent on my own. So, I did the thing I never thought I'd do. I asked to stay in my childhood home again. Mom hesitated, then said, Of course, honey. But it's a bit tight right now. You'll be sharing the guest room. Jacob's staying here too. Jacob had just returned from his spiritual sabbatical in Bali, which, from what I could tell, looked a lot like a luxury vacation. No job. No plans. Just vibes. He got the bigger bed. He got the car keys. He got hot meals left in the oven every night. One afternoon, I overheard Mom telling Aunt Lisa on the phone, Emily's just going through a phase. But Jacob? He's finding himself. We're so proud. I remember standing at the top of the stairs, just stunned. Proud? Of what? I muttered under my breath. That week, I offered to pay rent, even if it was just a little. Dad waved me off. That's sweet of you, Em, but we're not charging Jacob, so it wouldn't be fair. That word again. Fair. Funny how it never applied to me. Things kept stacking. Mom, accidentally, forgot to include me in the family group chat about Grandma's surgery. Only Jacob showed up at the hospital. Dad would tell family friends, Jacob's our big hope, he's gonna start his own business soon. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding my career with zero help. At family dinners, every conversation circled back to him. His ideas, his future, his dreams. One night, I finally said it. Do you guys even see me anymore? The room fell silent. Mom blinked, confused. Jacob shrugged. Dad chuckled uncomfortably and said, You've always been the strong one, Em. We just know you'll figure it out. That was the moment I realized something awful. They didn't ignore me because they hated me. They ignored me because they assumed I didn't need them. But I did. I really did. And what came next broke me entirely. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when everything fell apart. I remember the phone ringing while I was making coffee. I answered, expecting a work call or a friend, but instead, I heard my mother's voice, cracking and trembling. Emily, it's your father. He's been in an accident. The hospital, they're not sure. My heart stopped. I dropped the coffee mug. The shattering sound echoed my breaking world. I rushed to the hospital, rain soaking through my coat, the sterile smell hitting me before I even stepped inside. Jacob was already there, calm, composed, the perfect son, the golden child. The doctors took us to a private room. Dad was unconscious, hooked up to machines, tubes everywhere. Mom sat beside him, tears streaming silently. I touched his hand, so warm, so fragile. Then came the hardest part, Dad's will. Jacob inherited everything. The house, the savings, the business shares. And me? I was left with nothing but a few sentimental items, old photos, a watch that didn't work. I asked Mom why. She looked at me, eyes hollow. We wanted to support Jacob's future. He needs stability. I couldn't breathe. That night, alone in my apartment, I cried until I had no tears left. How could the family that raised me, the people who vowed to love me, leave me empty-handed? I remembered every sacrifice I made, every time I bit my tongue to keep the peace, every moment I wished for their support. And now, it felt like I was erased. Jacob texted me the next day.
Hope you understand.
Dad wanted this. I wanted to scream, to fight, but all I could do was whisper, why not me? That question haunts me every day. Because love, family, it's not supposed to be this unfair. But here I am, left with nothing. And this story isn't just mine. Maybe it's yours too. Days after the will reading, I couldn't stay silent anymore. I stood in the living room, heart pounding, facing Mom and Jacob, the two people who made me feel invisible.
Why?
Why did you give him everything and leave me with nothing? I demanded, voice shaking but strong. Mom's eyes darted away. Emily, it's complicated. Jacob needs it more. I shook my head, bitterness rising.
No.
It's not about who needs it more. It's about who is there, who sacrificed, who loved. Jacob sneered. You think this is about love? It's about practical choices. You always think you're the victim. I took a deep breath and held up a faded letter, one I found tucked in Dad's old desk, addressed to me, but never sent. It's your father's words. He loved me once. Said I was his rock. How do you explain this then? Mom's face crumpled. Jacob's smugness faltered. I felt the power shift. No more silence. No more pretending everything is fine when it's broken. I ripped a photo of us as kids, the last perfect moment before things fell apart. I deserve respect. I deserve fairness. That moment marked my stand, not just for myself, but for every time I was overlooked. I was done being the shadow. I was ready to be seen. After the confrontation, things changed, but not how I expected. Jacob stopped talking to me completely. No texts, no calls. My mother's warmth turned into cold silence. Even some relatives who used to visit now avoided me. I felt isolated, like a ghost in my own family story. But I also saw something clearer than ever. Who truly cared. My best friend, Sarah, stayed by my side, bringing meals and listening to me cry for hours. My neighbor, Mr. Harris, even invited me over for coffee just to check in. For the first time, I understood that family isn't just blood, it's the people who show up. I remembered the childhood moments when I was always in Jacob's shadow. The birthdays where my achievements were ignored. The times I asked for help and got none. I mourned not only Dad, but the family I thought I had. It was painful, but also a kind of liberation. I was free from pretending, free to build something new. Healing didn't come overnight. I started therapy, slowly unpacking years of hurt and silence. I joined a local support group, people who understood what it meant to be overlooked by their own blood. It felt like finally breathing fresh air after being underwater. Sarah moved in for a while, her laughter filling the empty spaces in my apartment. I reconnected with distant cousins who offered genuine kindness, people I never knew I could count on. I even started a small project in Dad's memory, a scholarship for kids who feel forgotten, just like I did. It wasn't easy, but every step made me stronger. I learned to set boundaries, to say no when it felt right. I discovered that self-worth isn't given, it's created. And slowly, I rebuilt my life on my terms. Jacob and Mom might never fully understand, but I don't need their approval anymore. I am enough. I am whole. I am free. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, you're not alone. Family isn't just who shares your blood, it's who shows up when it matters most. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, set boundaries, and create your own tribe of love and support. Please share your story in the comments. I want to hear you. If this story resonated, like, subscribe, and join this community where we lift each other up. Remember, your worth isn't defined by others. It's defined by how you choose to see yourself. Stay strong. Stay brave.